Now it's like I want someone to say, I use ChatGPT, I use Gemini, or that's what I'm looking for. And then you're hired.
As you think about the qualities of the leaders and the team members of your organization, what qualities would you prioritize?
One other thing that I look for a leader is their desire for changing, for transforming themselves.
Start thinking of yourself as an enterprise leader, a business leader who knows technology, and stop thinking of yourself as only a technology leader.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to this special roundtable edition of the Tech series. I am Marcelo De Santis, your host, joining you today from one of my favorite restaurants in New York City, Maison Close. Today, we are diving into a reality every executive is facing. Bold AI announcements are easy. Lasting business impact is not. In this roundtable, we will explore the many sides of AI transformation, the human, strategic, technological, and cultural factors that must work together to turn ambition into lasting results. Great leaders don't just deploy technology. They guide new behaviors and embed change so well that value can be created on demand. And to help us understand this from different angles, we are joined by three incredible leaders who are shaping AI transformation in their unique ways. Antoine Tessier, CEO DuPont REGISTRY Group and former Chief Technology Officer Americas for Louis Vuitton. Alexander Murzaku, Vice President Research and Development at Gap International's Genius Institute. And Drew Reidy, Technology Executive Search at Heidrick Struggles. With these incredible leaders and their powerful perspectives, let's dive straight into the roundtable. So thank you for being with us today. Really looking forward to have a great conversation. I know you are ready to dive into the topic. So let's start with the first question. You know that the MIT has submitted a report that says that 95% of AI pilots are failing. And we all want to be in that 5% that win. So I'm very curious how you guys are seeing success in AI transformation in your organizations, in the people that you connect in a daily basis. So let me start with you, Antoine. How do you see success in your organization with the AI transformation?
Yes, thank you, Marcelo, for having us. Really happy to be here. For me, it's the way AI brought transformation to the company is that it allowed us to fail faster. So failing is actually something that we are looking for because it means that we've tried and each time we fail, we improve the product. At the end of the day, we're not creating AI products just for the sake of it. We're creating AI products to really bring value to our clients. And it doesn't change from the previous world without AI, where we were creating products to bring value. If you look at a recent product that we launched, one thing that I saw when I joined the DuPont REGISTRY Group is that collectors were looking for prices of their car all the time. And in order to do that, they were going to multiple sites looking at pricing strategies and different. The first thing we did is we pulled all of our data in and we created an algorithm that we call DuPont Registry Index that is now a strong value for all of our collectors. At any point of time, they can know this is the value of my collection. It's going up, it's going down, it's bigger than my neighbor. And that's how we've been bringing the product to market, is really looking at, let's iterate fast because AI allows us to do it. And if we fail, great, let's move on and continue to iterate.
How failure is perceived in large organizations? Any of you have any point of view on that? Because I feel that sometimes we talk about failing fast, but in reality, large organizations struggle with the word failure. Any?
Well, I mean, it's not a nice word. And on the other hand, while not being a nice word, is also preferred to know as soon as possible. Because you can continue and you can keep going for months and for quarters and for years sometime, and then it fails. Then what do? This failing fast, actually, I like that combination of failing fast. It's in the nature of startups mostly. Big companies do everything they can to not allow failure. Yeah. But it happens everywhere. And it's also a mindset. It's like, how do you think about failure? Is it something that you learn from, or is it something that damages what you're doing and it blocks you from moving forward?
Let me move to Drew now. You're recruiting the most talented technology executives in the market. And when you're looking for transformational leaders, do you look for this mindset of failing fast and experimenting? And if yes, how do you really know that this is the right person, for the job?
Yeah, I think, and what you said, it makes me think of risk tolerance in a way too, because I think the answer is I think there's different levels of risk tolerance from every organization that we work with across the board, and it's sometimes connected to size and scale of the organizations, but sometimes it's not too. There are small companies that are conservative, and then large companies that are risk averse as well. So I think it comes back to connecting kind of the person and how quickly they're going to move with matching them to an organization that they're going to be able to transform at a pace that organization can digest. And I think the request right now comes in, a lot of leadership teams want someone who is going to transform the company faster, at a pace that is faster than they're comfortable with, but 10% faster, 15% faster. Where you see an organ reject in a way is when a leader joins a company who is used to moving at 1,000 miles an hour and breaking glass and not bringing people along, joining an organization where that is the norm, and there can be tension and friction in that misalignment.
Mm-hmm. In your experience, Drew, how long does it take for an organization to realize that maybe it's not the right leader or it's not the right organization for that leader?
It can be quick. If the wrong leader joins the wrong organization, I think in a perfect world, there's that alignment, serious alignment, reflection up front about what moment are we in, and honesty about what moment are we in, and then reflection that translates into let's align what we're looking for up front so that we don't end up in that situation. But in that situation, it may not take long.
Mm-hmm. How do you use AI today in your day-to-day for recruiting? Because each time we post a job offer, in the next 5 minutes, we have 300 resumes coming through the door. So then we're like, okay, let's use the company like Heidrick just to help us find the right candidate.
Yeah.
But how do you use AI today are you using that to find candidates, to vet candidates? Is there a specific recipe on the human resources side?
Yeah, I wonder, because there's the high velocity recruiting that you're talking about, where AI can be deployed in all of those ways and probably super helpful and help screen and sort and sift. And then, for us, we're working at the top or one level below, boards, CEO, and C-suite, and direct reports into the C-suite. And so it's less in that instance about volume in a way that AI might be able to help sort through kind of the vast amounts of information. And it's a lot more about almost what you were just mentioning, Marcelo, kind of almost the softer aspects of, who's right because of their kind of soft leadership skills for what organization in the moment that they're in. So not as much, necessarily in that way.
Do you still see that personal touch in the recruitment process something that is important, right?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. It's a human-centered, intrinsically human-centered, very high-touch business.
And to me, it's in everything, right? I don't feel like AI will, even when you create a product or when you develop an application or you do something, it needs to have the human touch to just, continue to push AI to deliver faster. But the creativity, and whatever comes to build a product, understanding your clients, understanding who they are, what they want, when they want to interact with you, that's not something AI can learn.
Alex, let me ask you a question. You guys work with organizations to make leaders and their teams achieving, extraordinary levels of performance. How do you evaluate an individual, a leader, or a team member in regards to where are they in that expected level of performance? Are they at the very beginning?
Well, there we are going into the process of how we do our consulting, our work. So evaluation, it's a continuous process. I mean, usually we are hired by the highest level of a company, and they have a need for transforming their organization and transforming their leadership, and sometimes their own leadership. And in order to do that, we have processes, we have extensive interview processes that happen in the beginning. Then we go to the next level of leadership in the company, where we interview them as well. We have surveys that we take, and there is, by the way, where we use a little bit of AI, because surveys, besides the numeric values, also have text that people enter. And it's fine when you have 100, 200 people that are adding things, but as you scale up, you get to thousands of these comments.
So you go across organization, actually
Yes,
100%
yes,
across
yes.
organization.
There is where you cannot do it by hand anymore. You got to, and it's the process where it's trust what you got, but verify. So always there is a human in the middle.
Trust and verify.
Yeah.
I like that.
And you cannot, I mean, yes, the AI, the way where it's going is to be as independent as possible, in the sense that you create an agent, you let the agent take the decisions for you, and it offers you results at the end of the day. But then the results might be good, but the decision that that AI agent or multiple AI agents took on your, for your sake, that is where the thing is like, did you really get what you wanted? Did they make the decision that you wanted? So yes, AI, we use it, we analyze language, we analyze text, we get some summaries, but always there is a human. The human that will read them and verify them, but also the human that will deliver them. And that is the most important part, delivering those lessons learned to the leadership of a company.
As agents and AI are, taking activities today, end-to-end workflows in the future, as you think about the qualities of the leaders and the team members of your organizations, what qualities would you prioritize? And let me ask Drew first, because you might use those things for recruiting people.
Yeah. Man, there's a lot. I think the winning formula, it's not enough to be just a highly technically proficient leader. I think that's table stakes. But I think there's probably three things. Comfort with ambiguity, I would say, is one. I think if you look at the chief data and analytics officer role, 75% of those jobs have been created in the last 5 years. And then if you zoom out and look at broader kind of technology leader, inclusive of data, but broader technologist, most of the roles that we're being brought in to fill, these job descriptions, the way that the role is written, scoped out, it's entirely rethought from the role that's being vacated or that they're bringing a new leader into. So there's no playbook that you're pointing to and saying that this role now, that 10 years ago, this is that playbook. Being comfortable around the ambiguity of a role that either is new or where the ownership might be wonky too. There's a leader who we have introduced her to a number of leadership teams and CEOs, and she interviewed with the CEO, and the ownership structure was such that the role owned technology but not data. And he said, well, are you comfortable with this ownership structure? And her response was, what she was raving about was, well, the reality is, first of all, yes, I am, but the reality is I'm an enterprise leader. I'm going to influence all of these things. I don't own anything. We all know we don't own anything. I'm a leader who's on the leadership team with a technical background. And so I think that mentality is something that comes through and shines through. Human-centered, empathetic leadership is another. Another CTO who we just put in at a large consumer organization, one of the most technical leaders that I've ever met, PhDs in computer science, super, super intelligent, technical. he had shared with us over dinner that in the last 10 or so years, he's become a student of HR, leadership, professional. And the response was because that was what he felt would make him dangerous. It was the technical, and it was being able to be that human, empathetic kind of leader. Those are probably two of them that come to mind in terms of the the winning success and winning formula.
Do CEOs understand that these characteristics are critical for transformational leaders?
I think whether they say it or not, whether they say it explicitly or not, I think those are the behaviors and the characteristics of kind of the most in demand, the most successful leaders who we work with, and some explicitly say these are, but others, I think those are that's at a high level what resonates.
Antoine, let me go back to your previous role as CTO Americas for Louis Vuitton. You made that transition that every technology leader aspires to, which is getting from being a CIO, CTO, chief digital to a CEO of duPont Registry. When you hear the conversation or the concepts that Drew is sharing about empathetic leadership, I mean, you have done that transition. Do you feel yourself equipped with those?
I feel like he was describing me.
Oh my God!
No, there is something interesting in what he said. The deal with ambiguity was one of the value of the LVMH group.
Okay.
And one day, I remember a candidate that was applying for a job in my team asked me, "What does it mean?" And I knew that just because he was asking what it meant, he could not deal with ambiguity. So for me, it was a deal breaker, right? It's about being able to cope with situations that are changing fast and being able to understand what's your role in those situations. I was fortunate enough to get the role of CEO, and it's interesting because they were looking for someone who knows, not someone who knew automotive, so not someone who had preconception about an industry, but someone who was coming with a new lens and new technology, digital and luxury clients. And it was, so if you look at ambiguity for sure, empathy, I agree 100%. The one thing that for me it's important is two things. One, curiosity, because you also need, as a personal employee, whether you're a CEO or not, but you need to be able to learn every day of your job and career so that you can evolve and you can, and even if you're not evolving into higher roles, at least you can evolve in your daily job and you can learn something new and you can be excited to come to work, and that comes from curiosity. Like when, having a free ChatGPT or another tool like that, everyone can use it today. And you should just be curious to try and see how it can help you. The second thing that I empower my team a lot is entrepreneurship. I want them to be responsible for their own, domain and being able to lead at their own level so that they can grow their, their business, their domain, whatever they are doing, and deliver excellence. And I think if you have an entrepreneurship background and mindset, you're always going to go for excellence. And that comes with it for me.
Mm-hmm. How difficult is to cause that ownership in your team members?
What do you mean, sorry?
I mean,
entrepreneurship.
Entrepreneurship. How difficult is to make a person feel I'm the owner of my thing?
It's very
I want to go all the way, right?
Not all profiles are meant to do this kind of thing, so it's difficult. But it's also how when you recruit, since I joined, when we recruit new people, there is a sense, this is the type of culture we want to implement in the team. So it's also when you get new talents, you look for those qualities. Changing someone who's not to become one, it's a bit difficult. You have to find the ones that are willing to change.
So let me go to Alex on this one, because I know Gap International works with the concept of ownership, right? I mean, how would you advise him how to make a person?
Free advice.
Free advice. How would you advise Antoine to transform an individual that doesn't have that sense of ownership into one that has that sense of ownership?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's not that I'll tell you now how to transform. You know what ownership is and what entrepreneurship is, what you expect. And you know that they are not doing it the way you want. So if you want to have a transformation, Well, the first thing is to find out what are they thinking, what is their current thinking, and what is preventing them for behaving in a way that where they own the success of the company, they own the success of the project, they own the success of their leader as well, and the team. So ownership goes across all of them. It's not ownership like, okay, I gave you this project, you own it, go do it. You cannot do it without the presence of all these other kinds of ownership. And there also, it connects because ownership does not live by itself. It's also, you need to take some risk, ability to take risk. And then it's also the purpose of the company. So these three things that I just mentioned, actually, they create an environment, and we call it a breakthrough environment. It's an environment where people can expand, can grow, can become leaders themselves. And that's the thing that we coach, and that's the thing that we measure as well. We have one of our, what we call breakthrough environment diagnostics. We go and actually have all employees take the diagnostic, and we can measure, we can come up with a number, and we can go find what was the thinking that we ended up with that number. Because that is the most important thing. And you also mentioned when you try to look, you look for empathy and so on. One other thing that I look for a leader is their desire for changing, for transforming themselves. That is hard because everybody says it. Yeah. It's easy to say, oh, I can change. But when it comes to, okay, how do you change? Well, you got to change by looking at how you behave first. What are you doing?
What are you thinking, right?
What are you thinking? And why are you thinking that way? That's extremely difficult because now you got to get and look, have the courage to look into yourself. And that is the hardest transformation.
Mm-hmm. When you both, if I can add one thing, when you mention the entrepreneurial kind of mindset, I mean, I think another enormous thing we look for is just the connection to business impact. Like, is this person connecting their results to the business? I think tech for tech's sake was the kind of the saying for a while. You look at, I think within the Fortune 100, 8 or 9 of those sitting heads of technology either own or have owned a P&L, and that number goes up to 15 to 20% when you zoom out to the Fortune 1000. Whether the leader owns a P&L or not, the ask is we want a technologist who thinks in a commercial way, who thinks in an entrepreneurial kind of way.
These days, you hear people like Dario Amodei, who is the CEO of Anthropic, right, talking about, 25% of jobs are going to be displaced by AI, right? And that creates tension in organizations, in people. And how do you lead in an environment in where your teams are under that pressure? And how do you transform that pressure into learning momentum? Because you talked about learning before, right? But people are hearing AI is going to replace my job, and you are at the middle, at the center of this transformation. You need to convince them to adopt the technology, knowing that technology might also replace them. Any thoughts?
I mean, it's not the first time that these things it's happening. I mean, we could go hundreds of years. Car replaced horses. Well, what did the horseshoe maker do? Well, I guess they learned how to create a device, a tool for the car, the brakes maybe. Speaking of cars. So it's something that causes a lot of anxiety, but that leadership has to take this, and there have been experiments on how you do that. I was actually reading on the way to here on the train. It's to give your employees a choice and the freedom to change, to transform themselves. And I got back to the transformational part, because at the end of the day, that's what you need. You need to think differently. I mean, the reality is changing under your feet. You are seeing every day like how a process, an AI is going and replacing what you're doing. What do? Well, you train yourself, and I call it the courage or the freedom to change yourself. I remember diamond miners, a company mining diamonds, and diamonds were ending, so the business were going down. And I was talking to one of the guys there, and like, what are you doing? And how are you thinking about that? Because your life is tied to that. And he says, well, I think that I know, and that was the freedom to choose, to select a new thing. He got into cattle raising. I mean, that was his plan. I have 20 heads now, and I will have 20 more in the next year. Basically, he was telling himself and his family, don't worry, got you covered. The mining work will go away. I have the cattle now. That is transformation, I mean, physical, from diamond mining. He was a very good engineer, by the way. He had invented several things in the process. From there to becoming a cowboy.
That's a big transformation. I'm thinking that, and this is a personal opinion, I'm happy you to push back on my personal opinion. The transformation we're living now, the speed of change is something that we haven't seen before, right? I mean, I follow technology trends very closely, and honestly, I think some things change every other week or day, right? So what's the leadership trick to operate under that level of change?
To me, it's going so fast. If you don't embrace it, you're done. Like, you have to, it's a movement you cannot miss, and you have to come with it. I embrace it every day. I'm a technology guy. Each time I talk to my team, whether it's my direct team or my broader team, I talk about AI. I want to imprint in everyone's head in the DuPont Registry Group that we need to work with AI on our day-to-day, and whatever we do, it needs to be AI focused. To your point, there is a lot of people that are reluctant, or they are just scared to, learn AI, what AI is going to do to their job, etc. It's about what you were saying earlier. It's how do we train them? How do we coach them? How do we give them just very simple example on how can they use it every day in their life to improve their day-to-day and to have a better output. We are in a growing phase, so for me, thinking about getting rid of people because I can replace them with AI, I don't think this is anywhere the goal. Nor the growth phase we're in. We're recruiting a lot of people. The goal now is to recruit them, to make sure that when we recruit them, we're recruiting people that already are AI ready in a way and are able to work with AI to improve their day-to-day job. I think the CEO of Spotify, I believe that's the CEO of Spotify, who said, now any new hire, you have to come to me with a business case that you need that person and AI cannot do his job. I think it's a bit drastic. But it's a good mindset. We're going to hire people that knows and wants to work with AI, just because you cannot miss the boat. And that's our mindset, and we're recruiting a lot of people, so in a good phase for us.
Let me ask a question to Drew. Drew, with the clients you're working and the technology executives you're working with, the topic of upskilling, is that the trend? And if it is, or if it is not, if it is, how do they do it?
It definitely is. I think it's probably one of the more, it's the most common. It's also one of the more encouraging, I would say too, because I think the headline that leads is it's going to replace all of these jobs, it's going to take humans. But I think the conversation that we hear more commonly is, how do we take the people that we have now and find new roles for them if their role is displaced, or in the role that they're in, which we know will change, how do we upskill them to do that? So I think it's the more common question. Part of that, I think, is cost and budget. The cost of making a flashy AI is very expensive too. and location and moving someone to whatever place and organization, all of that starts to come into play. I think there are different ways that organizations can start to accelerate the upskilling of their existing workforce. You're seeing AI, make its way into the boardroom. There's representation on corporate boards. They're bringing in directors who have that expertise, who can help accelerate that. Like they have deep AI data backgrounds, and they're being put onto the board. Or it's more of an and/or. They're taking the existing base of directors and helping them become more AI literate, and then bringing new leadership in too, whose expertise is not just in the tech. It's really in helping employees adopt the tech, be comfortable with the tech, and then go a step further beyond the adoption and connect it back to how's this going to give us ROI and connect to results versus just using it as a desktop tool or pilot or things like that.
Do you see the upskilling agenda is more on the CIO side of the house or the CHRO side of the house? I'm curious about your perspective and your perspective as a CEO, ex-CTO.
Yeah, I'm curious, the kind of broader than tech perspective too. I think the onus, I think with a lot of this does fall on the head of technology in helping kind of either rethink and redeploy, existing, or just help them, accelerate sort of their development of skill sets that are going to be more modern. But what do you think outside of the head of technology function?
Yeah. I got that because it's AI, everyone is going to go to the head of technology, and that's obvious, especially if you're creating like deep AI tools with additional machine learning and algorithm, etc. At the end of the day, I remember my previous days at LVMH. They were organizing events where it was the CFO of the organization organizing an event to tell all the other CFO in the organization how they should use AI in their day-to-day, which is much better than having the technology guy coming to the CFO telling him you should use AI this way. It's better that it comes from the business, and the business has a strong understanding of the capabilities they can do, and they discover by themselves and create new product. To me, the technology will just be here to manage security, deployment, like the infrastructure around it. But from a pure product development standpoint, it needs to come from the business.
Alex, any perspective on that?
Your example, your own personal example, was that you, as the CEO of the company, you use AI for yourself.
Yeah.
And I believe that is the biggest example giving, but also transformation, that example that you can give to the whole company. Because if the CEO goes and tells the CIO or the CTO, like, hey, I want AI from you, I want it implemented by the end of the month, without using it himself, well, he becomes a bottleneck. The CEO becomes. And it's not something that you outsource, that you tell the other people, like, you go and do this for me. It has to be, and so that mindset of the leader that I want to see, our CEO, by the way, she's like using herself AI, pushing AI in every process in the company. And we are a consulting company, a small consulting company, but she's pushing for that, and she's using it herself. And that's how everybody sees that and says, well, I have these extra things to do, and that leads transformation. And HR, I mean, yes, HR leads training, but the CEO is the leader, and he's the one that pushes everything.
How do you, I was curious, how do you deal with, like, if you think about some of the more skeptical, some of the skeptics, what's your rebuttal or answer, or how do you show them the way in terms of those that are pushing back and in your organization are saying that they're apprehensive to use some of this?
You need to show them that some of the basic tasks that they're going to do repeatedly on a weekly basis or on a daily basis, you need to actually sit with them and show them that if some of those tasks they are using AI or large language model, they will make it faster. And I think it's all about this. I had a conversation with my chief legal officer the other day, and we were looking at a contract life management tool. And for me, it was a no-brainer. We should go for an AI solution. At first, he was, they're just AI is just working a bunch of, excuse my French, crap.
You can say that, right?
I can say that. But after I discovered some of them, and he's like, oh my God, this is really powerful. It can really help me when I have to review an NDA, when I have to write a job agreement, employment agreement, those kind of things. It actually makes things go much faster. And I have more time to review, and I have more time to bring value. And it just went from a small example of, I don't believe it, okay, I'm going to show you, discover, spend time, and step by step they understand that their scope can just, their life can get better.
Yeah. I love that. There's a head of technology who we work very closely with at a multi-billion consumer products organization, and he has identified either leaders or even individual contributors who are exhibiting, people look up to and exhibiting leadership in really every function in the business. And those are the ones who he's working with on, and they demonstrate wins within the organization, proliferate that out to the rest of it. So to your point, I think it has to come from, it doesn't just come from tech, it doesn't just come from HR, it comes from everybody.
Outsource it.
Exactly.
Lead it.
Yeah.
And in the past, I had a question when I was before AI. That should be a new acronym, I think, before AI.
Do it.
BAI, right? When I had a job interview, I used to ask one question to the candidate is, what do you do when you don't know? And the one thing that I was expecting as an answer was, I Google it, right? Because it means that you're self-conscious that you don't know and you can find the answer. Now it's like I want someone to say, I use ChatGPT, I use Gemini, or that's what I'm looking for. And then you're hired.
Okay, people that are watching this will use that line with you now.
They will wait for
Just
the
retired
question.
that interview question.
Be careful.
Alex mentioned something that got my curiosity. He said, implementing AI. If you're in charge of implementing AI in your organization, what does it mean, implementing AI? What's the outcome?
Well, the outcome, it's using the large language models, which are the AI, we call them foundational models, like ChatGPT or Gemini, like using them, but using them because we cannot create one of those for ourselves. I mean, I don't know, the cost, I think it was like $10 million to create a equivalent of ChatGPT 3 or something like that. So, but using those into different processes that we have, into things that are repetitive, but like we have a lot of events, for example, and we need to staff those events with consultants. And for that, there is a certain relationship. So there is a combinatorics question there, like how do you combine a consultant with this skill, with a consultant with that skill, with this audience, with those participants? How do you combine all of that? There is something there. And one of the experiments that we did is like, okay, it could take just looking at all the calendars and looking at the availability and looking at the skill set and so on. Yes, you can build a table that has all of those features and match them. But also are something that are not said in the database, that are more like description of these people. And there you can match, you can have like, okay, I want somebody that looks like this, and this, and that has those skills and deals well with Marcelo. So we better
That's not
have...
easy to find, let me tell you.
So let's ask AI how to do that. And it does a wonderful job. And we were surprised by that. But then we have, I told you, the thing with the diagnostics, where we have all these text questions.
And analyze the results.
And we used to have, like, running it for 100 people, then we would sit a couple of consultants, we go through them and say, okay, I see this theme here, that theme there, let's group them and prepare a report in a day or two. Now we have 10,000. Well, you cannot do the same thing with a human. So we just feed it to a large language model. It comes up with the themes, with the keywords that are more frequent, with removing the proper nouns of people that are mentioned in those. So all of these things are taken care by AI. But when we prepare the report, then it's the human that has to do that. You got to look at that. So it's a 10-page report, but a human goes line by line. Okay, this can go, this cannot go, but it's the thing that took a couple of days. Now it's like a press of a button, and we got the report.
So besides automation, is there anything bigger that you see as a result of an AI transformation? And it's a leading question because I do have an idea in my mind. I'm just trying to test with you guys.
Just going back to the implementation, because to me there is, one step is give your team access to those tools. Second step is have one of their peers, explain how they are using AI themselves, so that they can. I don't know how to use AI for finance. I don't know how to use AI for HR, but I'm sure that someone in my team that is already using for finance can help teach their peers on how to do that. So I think instead of before the training was coming probably from IT to everyone, this is how you should use that retail POS or that finance tool. Now it should come from the peers. This is what I use AI for in my day-to-day and why it's improving my life. And I think that's how you empower your team to use it on a daily basis. Then you have the second part of the company, which is building product with AI. And the big part, to answer your question, to me, is automation. Being able to do it faster than if you were doing it manually or if you were doing it for a program.
That scale. Yeah.
We had an example recently in the company where someone was like, we have this new application called DuPont Registry Garage for collectors to put their cars in. We had pictures coming in. Okay, can we recognize the picture? Can we see if it's the front left, the right left, the cover picture, or the interior, or the engine? And he was, it's going to take a lot of manual curation, and we went to our director of AI, and in less than 24 hours, we had a model that was recognizing all the 50 million images we have in our database. So that is one of the key aspects of AI today, is making a problem looks much easier to implement.
So headcount reduction is the main outcome of an AI transformation, would you say?
No, I'm not reducing headcount. I'm still hiring people, but I'm hiring them to do something slightly different.
Like what?
Like they will do still their job, they will do it more efficiently, and they will bring additional value because we can go faster.
Drew, what do you see from your seat as a recruiter?
I think I like the way you put it, where it's the discussion is very much, it's the early phases are getting individual contributors and folks comfortable with and giving them a lot of these tools that helps make them more efficient. There's little business impact in that. It's how do you go beyond the tools that they have and connect that to, you're automating entire workflows, entire processes. I also think that shift is a lot easier said than done. I mean, that's the very challenging part, and to do it in a way where you have a cohesive strategy that works for, a global or a very complex business, because it's not all. I mean, I think this has come out too. It's not a top-down directive. It's very much. It has to come from all aspects of the business. There has to be buy-in. So,
every time I talk to my colleagues that are CTOs, CIOs, there is something that always come as part of a conversation, which is there is a turf war at the C-suite about who owns AI transformation. It is a CTO, it is a CIO, it is a CMO many times, right, in certain companies. Do you see that fight for who is owning the AI transformation in organizations? And if you see it, is there any remedy that you can suggest?
To me, from a business standpoint, everyone should own it with their own department, own domain, and own company. At the end of the day, if you're transforming the company, you're transforming everyone in the company, and you need to make sure that all the leaders are embracing your vision and they are, working with you to make the change. technology infrastructure-wise, when you're thinking AI infrastructure and AI technology, it's still a technology product, so it has to go to the CTO and the technology department to make sure that it's secure, that it's redundant, reliable, etc.
Drew, any thoughts?
I agree. I'm coming at it from the lens of working with leadership teams and working with heads of technology, heads of data. I think that is the reality that has to come and be. It's really owned by all aspects of the business. I mean, I think the ownership structure of there's so many different ways that you can cut up the head of technology role. Data, product, cyber, infrastructure, AI. It can all sit under one person. In other organizations, sometimes they own a sliver. There's one person kind of owning the quote unquote enterprise technology. There could be another person owning the customer facing technology. There could be another person owning the data and AI. And I think it comes down to more what the organization needs, and then people being bought into, okay with that kind of shared ownership structure, or okay with one person is going to own this all and be responsible for the standing up of these capabilities. And then maybe down the line, they let go of one aspect of that.
What's interesting is that we didn't say that AI should own the transformation. So we still have always the human aspect in what we say, right?
We are protecting ourselves.
Exactly. We're biased.
So let me bring a data point to the table. I mean, maybe some of you have kids, right? And when I'm looking at new graduates in the US, I think there is an unemployment rate of between 8 to 9%, if I remember well. And we blame AI for that because it's replacing entry-level jobs. Do you see that trend? And I would be curious if you want to share your perspective as parents, right? How are you coaching your kids, the younger ones in your families, to get ready for what's coming?
Well, the most important thing is to get ready to learn whatever comes their way and to not get stuck in. I'm not good at this, I'm good at this. Well, that is one aspect, but actually, why aren't you good at that? Think about that. Like, I'm not good in technology. Why? You keep using the TikTok or whatever you're doing with your phone, taking pictures and making videos and things like that. It's not that you are not good. It's like you are expressing yourself and like closing doors to yourself. So as a parent, that's what I've done with my kids, all three of them. Just open as many doors as possible. Don't never say I can't and I cannot learn that. You can. And well, they're grown up now, so I've been lucky. So my daughter, she's a physician. My son got his PhD in computer science, the older son, and the little one, he's learning engineering, mechanical engineering. And all of them, it was easy for them to say that I'm not good at math. Everyone can say that and do say that. It just takes
some courage, right?
No, it's courage, but it's like being open, changing, getting to the mindset. Why are you thinking that? Change that thinking and everything becomes possible. And he can hire you then, can find you a great place.
I think there is, for me, coming from a European background and a French background, in France you're put, very early on in your studies, you're just put in a career path. So you have to do this and then you would become this. So there is no leeway. In the US it's much more pragmatic, and I think you can have someone who studied psychology become something else, and someone who studied science or medicine become something else in the past. And I think this is the power of the environment we're in, is the ability to really look at what is the capability of someone to learn and to adapt, and do they have the skills that you were talking about, Drew? Are they to be a good leader? And whatever the field, if they can learn and they can manage people or they can manage their team to success, I don't care where they're coming from. In France, it's not like that. You need to be an engineer, you need to be this. It's very, so that's why I'm glad My kids are born and I don't want to go into politics, they are born in the US. Mine are younger than yours, so I think the social media influence that they're facing is much stronger than probably the generation of your kids.
They had the Spice Girls.
To me, it's about, again, being curious and how do you say that? Making sure that when they are curious, you're fueling their curiosity, right? You're always giving them something that they can continue to ask about, etc. And because the more they're curious and the more questions they have, the more their eyes will be open. None of them are coding or just don't care about it. They want to be entrepreneurs. Some of them want to be entrepreneur already. They know that what it is to build an enterprise, what it is to do a lemon stand and make money and reinvest that money. And if they are, listen, with the tools we have today, everyone can create a company. And everyone can be successful if they want to be. It's even much faster and easier than before. So that's why we need to help them understand that they can be their own entrepreneur.
I love asking heads of technology who have children who are in school, have left school, what do you wish your child studied, or who are on the way to university, what do you hope that they study? One of the most common answers that I hear today is humanities. Whether that, and this is coming from a lot of people who are STEM majors, so whether that's tongue-in-cheek or sort of the pendulum going way the other way from all of the talk right now that we're hearing, I think there's a takeaway there that's the softer skills and high EQ and curiosity and some of the skill sets of a liberal arts kind of education and background that are important, or that it was at least believed that will be important in the future. So I think that's super interesting.
Two last questions I want to ask. One is from the leadership perspective, as we automate more work, as we have more agents running the more operational side of our companies, what do you think is the main mission of a leader? If you can summarize that in one or two words. A leader in that environment in where agents do all the operational work, what's the main role of a leader?
I would say if tomorrow everything is done by AI, when you run a company, you have to teach every one of your employees and show them the vision of how can you bring value and different value than what you used to bring. Right? If your job day to day is going to be replaced by agents that are doing it faster and doing it better, what is the new value that you can bring to the company? And for me, it's going to be a value of transformation. Like you said something at the very beginning which resonated in me, is what you're looking into a leader is someone who has the capacity to understand that he can change. And I don't think we teach that to AI agents today. We're teaching them something to do and they're doing it very well. But now if you have a team on top of that, of humans that are able to look at that and spend time trying to understand how they can make a better business and make a better job and change the way they're doing things, then they can program the AI agents to do it differently. And it has to come from them. So for me as a leader, this is what I will teach them.
Thank you, Antoine. Drew?
Critical thinking, maybe change management, almost like a chief change officer, chief critical thinking officer, something in there.
That role will be very busy with all the change. And we get a good package.
But there is, right? They created a bunch of CIOs were rebranded Chief Information and Transformation Officers over the last few years.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Alex, anything to add to?
Well, I mean, it's the human side. It's interesting that you said that many of these executives recommend humanities. Why is that? Maybe they feel like that understanding the human needs, the humanity itself, has values. And actually, I've been a professor as well for 2 decades. What I recommended my students, even those that were in STEM, classes, is to take a second major in humanities. Combining the two is the best thing. What does it give you? You mentioned empathy earlier, but that is the human sentiment, how we feel about other humans. The machine will never have that because the machine does not have needs, does not have love. Humans do. And that is the one thing that will make one leader different from another leader.
Excellent, excellent. So let me close putting yourself on the seat of an advisor for our audience. And if you were to advise to a leader that is in front of a AI transformation, what would you say they have to start, stop, and continue?
To me, it's think about, when you're a kid, you ask thousands of questions. And not talking about my children, sometimes it can be annoying, but this is how you learn. And today you have a tool in front of you that you can ask anything and it's going to be able to answer your questions in a very simple way. And you can have conversations to learn and learn and learn. The same way you learn when you were a kid through conversation, right? It's not going through Google and reading 300 pages of a document. It's actually asking very simple questions, looking at the answer and learning through conversation. So the first thing I would encourage everyone to do, go to Gemini, go to ChatGPT, go to all the other ones and start asking. When you don't know something, just ask and start the conversation. To me, that's absolutely like the first thing they have to do. What was the second one?
Start, stop, and continue.
Stop doing something every day as a repetitive task and find a way to automate that. Because there is ways to automate it, right? And continue, to me it's continue to always try to be different and try to bring something new. Continue to change. Yeah. That's what I would say.
Continue to change. Excellent. Drew, start, stop, continue.
I think my start and stop are going to be related, but I think it's start thinking of yourself. If I'm looking at technology leaders, start thinking of yourself as an enterprise leader, a business leader who knows technology, and stop thinking of yourself as only a technology leader. Because I think it's so woven into everything that we're all aspects of the business and the cost, all of it. Continue building trust.
Building trust. How would you build trust?
That's above my pay grade.
It takes
I think
time.
it's all the way. I think it's all the ways that we talked about. I think it takes a lot of time. I think it's bringing people along. I think it's not being the instructor, having respected peers and those throughout the business being the proliferator and the driver. A lot of this. What would you add?
No, it takes time. Look at all the luxury brands. One of the things that a lot of luxury brands, us included, we talk about a lot is we have the trust of our clients. But we've been building that trust for 40 years. So for 40 years, we've been consistently bringing the same product and the same excellence to our clients, and that's why they trust us. So this is something I completely agree with you. In the future, relationships are going to be a big part of businesses, and relationships are based on trust, but that takes a lot of time.
And let me tell you, Drew, that knowing you for many years, you know how to build trust, and I appreciate the trust that we have with each other.
Likewise.
And that is the one thing, the relationship among humans. That's the one thing that will never be replaced by machines. And
I don't know, there is a couple of robots that I've seen recently that looks real.
Yes, go have a relationship with those robots. I mean, look at that. You felt that they are very real, but the robots are not.
Correct.
Are not trying to create a relationship with you.
It's true.
So that is the human part. And one of the things, the stop, you use the word upskilling. I've heard the word reskilling. I kind of don't like that word.
What would you use instead?
Be open to learning. We can call it technically as a reskilling, but it's actually human nature. You're not reskilling all the time. Right now, we learned a lot. We didn't reskill ourselves. So it's more human to learn. It's more human to love what you're doing, rather than, and this has entered the lingo, the jargon, and has become a thing. Upskilling, reskilling, it keeps being repeated, but it's really something, just change yourself and become something you want to be. Give the person the freedom to do that.
Excellent. Gentlemen, Alex, Drew, Antoine, it was a pleasure. I learned so much from each and all of you, and I hope those watching this roundtable for the Tech series also you enjoyed this conversation, and if you did, please like, subscribe, and share. This is the Tech series where innovation meets humanity. See you in the next episode. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this special roundtable edition of the Tech series. And the teleprompter is going too fast.